Hello everyone and welcome back to our podcast, Pita Goats and Karpathos. Today's episode is called The Fishing Philosophy. This episode is all about fishing in Karpathos. The fishing industry is a vital part of the island's economy and culture. I'm one of your hosts, Alexa Volpe, and beside me, once again, I have my co-hosts, Landon Wetzel and Luca Jaffe. How are you guys feeling about this episode of the podcast?
I'm super excited to be back, and I'm ecstatic that the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Personally, I'm very hyped for this episode. I am a huge fisher myself, and I'm excited to dig a little deeper with this topic and learn some new things about the fishing industry and how it has shaped Karpathos.
Agreed, Landon. It's a great day to do a little fishing into the aquatic aspect of our favorite Greek island, Karpathos.
Good one, Luca. Today we're talking about everything from the fascinating creatures in the Mediterranean Sea to the timeless traditions of fishing that have been passed down for generations. So, Landon, why don't you start us off for today?
For sure, Alexa. It's crazy how important the aquatic ecosystem and the fishing industry are together. I mean, a large majority of the population of Karpathos relies on the ocean, not just for food, but for jobs or even recreation. Luca, how about you break down the aquatic ecosystems of Karpathos for the listeners?
Great idea. The Mediterranean Sea around Karpathos is home to a wide variety of species, some which play crucial roles in the food chain. You have things like phytoplankton, which are the primary producers. Then you have zooplankton, tiny creatures that feed on those primary producers. After that, you get creatures like sardines, which are secondary consumers, and even predators like octopuses and groupers that go after smaller fish. And at the top of the food chain, you have apex predators like dolphins and the Mediterranean monk seal.
And the amazing thing is how these species all interact with each other. I mean, the food chain doesn't just stop there. The Mediterranean monk seal, for example, is an apex predator, but it's also an indicator species. Its health tells us a lot about the state of the ecosystem as a whole.
That's right. And speaking of important species, let's talk about the keystone species of the island. The Karpathos water frog is a really good example of this. Even though it's not a marine species, it has a big role in the freshwater ecosystems. By keeping insect population in check, this ensures that there is a balance in the aquatic environment.
Absolutely. But we also have to include the invasive species that could seriously impact the local ecosystem if they are ever introduced to the island. For example, the tree of heaven. It's a fast-growing tree that was introduced from China and has started to invade areas in Europe. If it spreads to Karpathos, it could outcompete native plants and disrupt the food supply for local animals.
And we can't forget about rats, which are another invasive species. They are definitely a threat to native wildlife since they prey on eggs and chicks of seabirds. This could lead to the decline of those populations. It's crazy how much the introduction of a few non-native species can disrupt the balance of Karpathos as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. Now I want to talk about the fishing industry of Karpathos. Before we get started, let's hear from a quick word from our sponsor, Daiwa Fishing.
You just caught a Mediterranean bass? That's 5 big booms! Boom! 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 What's up, Karpathos gang? This is the Daiwa 701 rod and reel. It's a premium rod, a premium reel. You see, this amazing, smooth reel. You see, you can put on any type of line you want, attach any bait. I use this for freshwater, but you can use it for saltwater too. Premium aluminum rod. You can find it at your Bass Pro Shops, local Dick's. Let's get hyped, Karpathos!
Wow, that was an electric advertisement. So now let's talk about the fishing industry. Fishing is the main industry of the island's economy and culture. The local fishermen rely on both traditional methods and more modern methods to catch everything from sea bream to Mediterranean bass to groupers and sardines.
Absolutely. There are many fishing methods on the island fishermen can use, anything from rods and nets to spearfishing and long lining. And it's not just about catching fish, it's also about feeding the community and supporting the economy. In fact, seafood is such an important part of Karpathos cuisine. Dishes like Greek shrimp, linguine, and grilled sardines are very common at local tavernas.
And these dishes are more than just food for the people on the island. They symbolize the connection between the people and the ocean. Imagine sitting down at a local taverna, enjoying a plate of grilled sea bass, and knowing it was caught just hours before by a local fisherman. I mean, how cool is that?
That's a great way to think about it. I mean, it's a perfect example of how connected the economy and culture are with the aquatic ecosystems. However, the island has faced challenges with overfishing in the past. Overfishing happens when fish are harvested faster than they can reproduce, leading to population declining. This happens due to high demand for seafood and the use of modern fishing technologies. The problem has been made worse by poor fishing regulations, resulting in a depletion of key fishing populations and disrupting of the marine food chain.
As a solution to this problem, the government has introduced regulations to control how much people can fish within certain periods, ensuring that the ocean's resources are not taken out before they can replenish themselves. Additionally, things like enforcing quotas, banning harmful fishing methods, and promoting selective fishing to reduce bycatch can be enforced to stop overfishing. Encouraging eco-friendly fishing for all local fishermen and educating them on a sustainable fishing may not seem like a lot, but it would go a long way.
It's good to see those regulations in place, especially when you see that in 2003 the fishing industry in the Southern Asian Sea provided over 3,700 jobs. That's a huge part of the local economy. Also, marine tourism is a massive contributor as well. It has generated billions for the economy.
Speaking of tourism, it's clear that the ocean and its turquoise waters attract many visitors to Karpathos. Not only do people come for the stunning beaches, but they also come for the fishing experiences, scuba diving, and to witness the wide range of marine life. The fishing industry relies on these visitors to keep things going.
Yeah, Alexa, you really just hit the nail on the head. The balance between protecting the ecosystem and maintaining the economy is so important. The island has always celebrated its connection to the sea, whether it's through religious festivals honoring St. Nicholas, the patron saint of sailors, or local fishing festivals that celebrate the harvest from the sea. There is always a deep cultural respect for the ocean.
It's so amazing to see, isn't it? And the role the sea plays in local myths and traditions really just adds to its importance. Fishermen often tell stories about the sea, bringing good or bad luck to them on fishing trips.
It's that respect and understanding of the ocean that has kept Karpathos thriving for so long. As we've seen, it's not just about fishing, but more about maintaining a healthy ecosystem that supports both the environment and the local community, for locals and visitors.
Now, before we wrap up today's episode, let's quickly talk about the monetary impact of these industries. The fishing industry contributes to about 3% of Greece's GDP, which means gross domestic product, and marine tourism is a major part of this as well. It adds to over 2.3 billion euros to the national economy, which in US dollars is about $2.4 billion. So it's clear that Karpathos really relies on its aquatic ecosystem, not only cultural, but also the significant part of the economy.
That's right. As the island continues to balance tradition with sustainability, we can only hope that both the marine environment and the people of Karpathos continue to thrive together.
Well said, Luca. Now, that just about wraps up today's episode of PETA Goats and Karpathos. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope that you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of fishing in Karpathos.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Stay tuned for next week's episode, but in the meantime, stay relaxed, stay curious, and don't forget to enjoy some PETA along the way.